were. If we look at this in the bigger picture, we've almost forgotten about the troubles in Northern Ireland because we've had a period of calm and of peace. Although there has been an upsurge in potential activity in the last 18 months, so perhaps this comes as no surprise.
That's right. There have been no successful attacks, but there have been attempts. Last year there were two separate attempts on the lives of police officers in Northern Ireland, unsuccessful. Only last month a bomb was found, a 300-pound bomb, which is believed was designed to attack a barracks. So that is the sort of background to those comments from C.U. Ward, worried about this increase in distant activity. So even though there have been no successful attacks, it has been bubbling under, as it were, in Northern Ireland. But it seems tonight a return to bloodshed on the streets of Northern Ireland.
What is going to happen next? I assume by the morning there'll be more reaction, potentially from Gordon Brown as well.
Yes, the Prime Minister, we understand, is being kept informed of the events here overnight. So certainly there will be some political reaction from Number 10, I'm sure, tomorrow. There will be, I think, in Northern Ireland, we're already seeing the beginnings of it, an attempt to bring everyone together in an act of unity against the terrorists, whose obvious desire really is to destabilise the peace process, to get the various factions fighting against each other. And they probably would like to see security staff back on the streets of Northern Ireland, something we haven't seen for 2 years. And there will be attempts, no doubt, from the security forces in Northern Ireland to resist that. The police will say they've got the situation under control.
OK, so for now, Andy Moore, thank you very much indeed. There will, of course, be more from you throughout the night as we get more reaction and potentially more developments on this story. But let me just bring you up to date on tonight's breaking news from Northern Ireland. This happened in the last about an hour and a half. We understand that 2 military personnel have been killed in a shooting at an army base in Antrim. This is a picture that we received from a viewer shortly after the scene, shortly after the attack took place. It was outside the Masserine Army Base, which is 16 miles north of Belfast. One report suggests that the gunman actually set foot inside the army base, but that is as yet unconfirmed. We also know that 4 other men were injured in the attack. We understand that 2 of them are fairly seriously injured. The Northern Ireland Secretary Sean Woodward condemned the shootings as an act of criminal barbarism. Northern Ireland's First Minister Peter Robinson said that it was a terrible reminder of the events of the past. He's postponed a visit to the US following the shootings, and as Andy said just now, Prime Minister Gordon Brown is being kept informed about the incident.
Which was due to begin tomorrow, and instead he's going to review the situation here in Northern Ireland. Now, my reading in that is that it doesn't actually sort of pose any threat to the stability of the coalition at Stormont. It's rather that he maybe feels that it would be inappropriate to be heading abroad immediately after an incident of this magnitude.
Paramilitary attacks have been pretty rare in the last couple of years compared to the heights of the troubles in Northern Ireland. But it seems that in the past few months there has been an upsurge in fairly violent activity. What happens now? Where do we go from here?
Well, obviously, there's going to be a debate about whether security has to be increased around bases like this. You know, the statement from Peter Robinson has said that in the DUP's view, the Chief Constable's decision to bring in specialist army reconnaissance units has been vindicated by the fact that clearly there was this severe threat as demonstrated by the attack earlier on during the course of the evening. There has been a debate about that, with Sinn Féin being critical of the Chief Constable and saying it was a bit of an overreaction and it was taking Northern Ireland back to the old days. But you know, this is really, I suppose, to that extent, you know, moved things along. That there clearly is a threat out there that has to be combated. On a political level, though, these groups still have relatively small support. Peter Robinson, in his statement, was saying that their campaign will not succeed, and I think that we'll be seeing fairly strong condemnation, probably from Sinn Féin and all the other parties coming in over the next few minutes and hours.
Strong condemnation you're expecting from them. What do you expect the people of Northern Ireland will say about this?
Well, I think the people of Northern Ireland will simply be dismayed that this attack has succeeded. I mean, it's been clear that in the past few months there have been attempts really stretching back over the last year to 18 months by dissident groups to carry out an attack of this kind. I can recall one incident where an off-duty police officer was attacked as he tried to deliver his children to school. There have been other attacks in which there have been sort of lucky escapes from security force members. But I think the vast majority of people in Northern Ireland will be dismayed because this really has been thought in recent years to be a thing of the past, something that Northern Ireland have put behind it, and people do not, in general terms, want to see any kind of return to this at all.
Well, that's correct, and the security threat in Northern Ireland has been at a very high level now for the last few weeks. And I suppose, first of all, I would want to say very clearly on behalf of the First Minister and my party that our thoughts go out to the families of the 2 men who've been killed tonight, and of course to the 4 men who are seriously injured in hospital. We do hope that they will recover from their injuries. This is a terrible attack. I understand that gunmen with machine guns entered the barracks, the entrance of Mazarine Barracks at Antrim, and opened fire. And
you understand that they actually went into the entrance of the barracks?
Yes, that's my understanding, and possibly in the guise of as a pizza delivery van. But these are sketchy details at this stage, so we obviously are getting reports that are unconfirmed, but we do know that there are 2 fatalities, and it's been a long time now since we've lost either a policeman or a soldier in Northern Ireland, and this is a terrible reminder of the consequences of terrorism, and we've had this in the past, and no one wants to see this happening in Northern Ireland, and I think there is a responsibility now on all parties in Northern Ireland to get behind the security forces, the police and the army, 100%, to ensure that these people are closed down, that these terrorists are hunted down, the people responsible for this, that they're caught and they are brought to justice. And that means we all stand on the side of the law. There can be no equivocation on this. We need to find out who did this, and they need to be brought to justice.
We heard the Sinn Féin President Gerry Adams, Mr Donaldson, say in response to what Sir Hugh Orde was doing in terms of bringing Special Army units in to increase intelligence on dissident Republicans, we heard Gerry Adams say that in doing that he risked alienating mainstream Republicans. What would you now say to Sinn Féin as a result of this incident tonight, if indeed it does prove to be dissident Republicans who are responsible for it?
Well, look, on an incident like this, you have to decide. Are you on the side of those who committed this foul murder, or are you on the side of those who uphold law and order in Northern Ireland? That's a very clear question. Are you in favour of terrorism, or are you against it? If you're against it, then you've got to support the security forces in taking the measures that are necessary to protect life in Northern Ireland. We are not going to defeat dissident Republicans by using kid clubs, that's for sure. When you think of the terror, the horror of this attack tonight, these people aren't playing around. They're not messing around. And when the Chief Constable says there is a serious security threat, then I think we've got to believe him, not question him, not doubt him. We've got to believe him. He is in possession of the facts, and we've got to support him. And I would call on all parties tonight in Northern Ireland. If you believe in democracy, if you want peace in Northern Ireland, then you come out clearly and unequivocally, you condemn this attack, and you support the security forces in going after the people responsible for this attack to bring them to justice. There can be no ambiguity on that.
Huge progress has been made in a very short number of years, really, in Northern Ireland. Politically, it's dormant in terms of the policing boards and so on. Are you confident that this terrible incident tonight will not damage that in any way?
These people are a tiny minority. They do not have popular support in Northern Ireland. They want to drag us back to the past. They want to destroy the progress that's been made in Northern Ireland. They have nothing to offer to anyone.